A scene of carnage and one of tragedy, a chain of events with fatal consequences.
There was a Holden sedan which contained two people. That was the vehicle in which the female passenger died.
It was being driven by a 66-year-old man from Madawi when it collided with a Ford Territory at the busy intersection of Industrial Drive and Turl Street in Mayfield. The force of the impact sent the sedan spinning into a nearby B-double. Its female passenger survived the initial impact but died a short time later. Both drivers avoided serious injuries and were taken to hospital for mandatory testing. There were lengthy delays for drivers, though, along both Industrial Drive and Toole Street as police investigated the fatal crash.
We can expect the road to be closed for a number of hours, given the seriousness of the accident, and emergency services will be on scene during that time.
Diversions helped clear the backlog of traffic. Investigators are yet to determine the cause of the crash.
It certainly is sad, accidents such as this, and it's a timely reminder of the need to take care of our roads.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News. The two men from Vietnam were involved in what the district court judge today described as a large and sophisticated drug operation run from a house in Wallsend. A 33-year-old man who earlier pleaded guilty to supplying a commercial quantity of a prohibited plant in March was sentenced to 3 months jail. The court heard he was to be paid $500 for his one-off role in the operation, which was over a short period of time. The 33-year-old was arrested after leaving the property in a van filled with cannabis. His co-offender, a 24-year-old man, will spend at least 18 months behind bars. Judge Penelope Wass described him as a crop sitter and told the court, "I do not accept he did not know he was part of an illegal enterprise, and he was essential to the operation and clearly a trusted member of it." Both were charged in June last year after police swooped on the Irving Street property, uncovering 127 cannabis plants in a purpose-built drug house. A third man charged in relation to last year's raids is still before the courts.
I think the most easiest thing to do is plan your meals. Plan what you're going to have for the week, write a list, go shopping and stick to that list. You'll save money and you will not waste food.
Out here, they're usually the fiercest of enemies, but today there was only mateship.
It's one thing rugby league can do is get people together, and as you can see here today, we've got members of every club here and happy to put aside decade-old rivalries for the cause.
Players from Group 21 teams unveiled special jerseys and colourful socks bearing the mark of the Where There's a Will Foundation, named in honour of former Scone Thoroughbreds player Will Carrigan, who took his own life in 2015 at the age of 24.
We were so shocked by what happened with Willie. As I said, an absolute terrific bloke, life of the party. Everyone always knew him, joked with him, loved him and that sort of stuff, and it was just such a shock. And it's just, if we can get a bit of awareness out there.
Will's family established the foundation to do just that. In a show of support, Group 21's final round on August 12 and 13 will be dedicated to the cause.
This is a huge celebration of a community who are willing to have the conversation about mental health.
The feature will be the Scone-Muswellbrook Shield clash, the latter team having also lost a player to suicide.
It seemed poignant that Scone and Muswellbrook play this together, play hard, but join in one united voice that this has got to stop.
Money raised from the round will support suicide prevention work in the Valley.
Newcastle, birthplace to some of Australia's most iconic bands.
We won a Triple J thing, they won a big SBS thing, so it was a launch pad and it made people focus on us and look at us and in turn look at our songs.
Now they're backing an initiative to unearth the next generation through Newcastle's newest songwriting competition, Tip Jar.
So much diverse musical talent in Newcastle right now, and it would be really hard to pick what kind of music will come out of this competition. Maybe that's half the fun.
Newcastle's one of those cities where it's you've only got to scratch the surface and there's lots of amazing stuff.
There's definitely no shortage of talent locally.
I think there's a chance there to kind of reach a new audience, and also obviously if you win there's lots of ways to kind of help your band get to the next level.
Winners will receive $10,000 in prizes to help catapult their careers, with the competition judged purely on the artist's songwriting abilities.
A good song connects with people.
It's honesty in a song and just your own personal uniqueness.
Entries are open for 2 months from the 1st of August. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
One of our big pushes here in Newcastle is to make sure we're on the map as a place to host big sporting events and also regional training for the Bledisloe Cup. So hopefully you'll be successful on the 19th of August because of your training in Newcastle.
Imagine waking up to this each day. 7 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, tennis court and pool. A luxurious family estate on a sprawling 8,000 square metres at Belmont North, 25 minutes from Newcastle. But you'll need $3 million. Certainly out of reach for most of us, but for savvy Sydney buyers, good value when you compare it to the capital's property market, which is spiralling out of control.
We had one buyer last week that said, wow, in Sydney, if you got something like this that was this close to the Sydney city, you're certainly not going to get anything of this size. But if you did, you'd be looking at 15, 20 million.
But wealthy locals are also upsizing. Newcastle's median household income is now above the state and national average.
We are seeing incredible confidence from our local buyers that have done well in business or in the property market over the years, many from the broader Hunter as well.
Data shows the median sale price for Bar Beach is now $2.8 million, $1.6 for the Hill and $1.3 million for Merriweather.
Sale prices of over $2 million used to be quite rare, and there'd be a big celebration when one happened. We're now seeing those come through our office either weekly or at least monthly, and seeing that kind of activity becoming the norm.
And plenty are getting in on the real estate game. Last year, a house sold for $4.7 million in Newcastle's version of Park Lane, Parkway Avenue, a record auction price. While in May, a property overlooking the beach at Merriweather went for just over $5 million.
These are numbers that we're now starting to get very used to, and I do believe we're going to start seeing some 5 and 6 million and beyond sales for those significant homes.
Another deluxe home on the market at Curry Street, Merriweather has a guide of 3.8 million to 4.1. Not on the water or an acreage, but a new home in a popular part of Newcastle with coastal views.
There's been some record prices paid for older homes just a couple of blocks back from the beach where people will remove the home and build. We're certainly getting a lot of interest now from Sydney. I think with our beautiful beaches and all, people can see what a lovely city is.
There are people from all around Australia taking a look at these properties and what Newcastle has to offer as a lifestyle destination as well as a business concern.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. It's been a huge 24 hours for 13-year-old Ryan Lynch. His epic shot of a pod of dolphins surfing the big waves off Newcastle's canoe pool is the talk of his school and more. Posted on NBN's Facebook page yesterday afternoon, it's reached more than 600,000 people, had well over 10,000 likes and seen countless pages of positive messages.
1,100 comments about your photo.
It's crazy as. Whoa.
Have you read some of those comments?
Yeah, I went through them last night. They're all so supportive. Every single one of them so nice. Just uplifted me so much. Yeah.
NBN News featured the image last night.
It came on, it's like Ryan Lynch, and I just screamed, started crying, and Mum was screaming, the whole family was screaming. It was really amazing, yeah, it was awesome.
Ryan is a gifted photographer with his own Instagram account, and professional shooters are now taking notice.
When I was told it was taken by a 13-year-old kid, I was like, wow, it's amazing.
And it seems he has a big future.
It's not often you see a photo with that sort of composition taken by someone so young.
Boosted 100% now. It would be an honour to be a photographer when I'm older, and it's going to be amazing. I hope I can, follow my dreams and do that, yeah.
Ryan, we're sure you will. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. After a disappointing season with the Waratahs, Michael Hooper wants to lead by example. He and experienced Wallabies skipper Stephen Moore, along with an extended train-on squad, are in the midst of an intense strength and conditioning regime in Newcastle.
For the game we want to play, we do need to be at the best fitness level we can be, and we're not going to acquire that all in a couple of weeks. But at the end of the day, the guys have been, they've been playing footy for 6 months now, so we've got to turn the key inside of their minds to get them to the next level up.
Michael Checker is making fitness a real focus ahead of next month's all-important Bledisloe Cup opener.
The games against New Zealand that we'll be playing will probably be the most intense games these guys will play in their careers, and we've got to go in there ready to take that, to play at that intensity for the full duration of the match.
Curtly Beale cut a lonely figure at number 2 Sports Ground, back in the squad after a 2-year absence, but still battling a hamstring injury.
We're just taking the precautions to get him back into the right condition, and I'd say after this week he'll be back in full training with the team.
This extended squad will be training here in Newcastle throughout the week, battling for positions ahead of the final team announcement, which will be made before a training camp in Cessnock on August 6. The Hunter camps are also a chance to introduce some familiar faces to a new generation of fans.
We want to inspire those young kids to want to play for the Wallabies. I just want kids to be able to get up and talk to Israel, and even a guy like George Gregan who's here today, or talk to Curtly, or talk to those guys so they can say, oh, I want to be that guy when I grow up.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Since Portugal, I worked very hard. I lost a lot of confidence, and when you're not that confident up there, it plays on your mind and it makes it really, really hard. So to come out on top again and to finish with a dive like that, I'm super, super happy.
I felt I was struggling with the aircraft a little bit. We've still got a lot of work to do to get the handling set up. We don't get enough flying at low level to know how the plane is performing.
Backing up from a 24-point win over South Korea, the Opals led by that margin at the end of the first quarter against the Philippines. Ebzery was flawless. Australia will face Japan in its final pool game tomorrow night. Fellow Newcastle product Lara McSpadden has helped Australia to a big win over Mexico at the Under-19 World Cup in Italy. McSpadden finished with 6 points and 6 rebounds as Australia won 109-34. Closer to home, and Newcastle split its weekend road trip to Melbourne in the Australian Ice Hockey League. Having lost to the Mustangs on Saturday, the North Stars went behind early last night but battled back. In the final period, Newcastle was in control. The visitors went on with the job with Hartrick bagging all 4 goals in the 4-1 win. To squash, and Hunter-bred player Matt Kowalski made light work of the men's division at the Lake Macquarie Open. Kowalski beat Tony James 3-0 in the final to claim his 3rd straight crown.
The heat here is unbelievable, and to do what the boys done was outstanding, and to play polished, controlled, and show that maturity they did was outstanding.
Vaughan Scott Cumming, the subject of a dramatic arrest in the CBD. The disqualified driver was taken into custody on Hunter Street after allegedly leading police on a chase through the city in a stolen car. Overnight, Cumming was charged in relation to the pursuit and with 3 other offences. Facing court today, the 26-year-old from Palmvale near Tweed Heads was remanded in custody. He's accused of fleeing police when pulled over on High Street at the Hill at around 11:30, leading them on a chase through to Burwood Street before dumping the car and attempting to flee through a nearby pub. Inside the 4-wheel drive, police claim to have found drugs and a knife allegedly belonging to Cumming's girlfriend. His co-accused, Carly Musgrove, also appeared in court this afternoon and was successful in her bail application. Both cases will return to court in August, where Cumming is expected to enter pleas. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
It looks routine, unloading a shipment of Australia's newest and largest wind turbines bound for the state's northwest. But by this afternoon, a different story emerged.
A new contract manager's come into town. They've taken over the contract and they've decided to use foreign labour as opposed to local labour. The 9 jobs that have been done to date have been done safely without a problem, and local workers are just left wondering why can't they be used to do the work.
The AMWU says it's simply not right.
The project has such a national significance to us with renewable energy. All the way down, Australians should be benefiting from this work.
In 2014, the Port of Newcastle was sold to a consortium that included a major Chinese government-owned partner. The unions fear this could be just the start.
Our port's being sold. There's a whole lot of grey area around what's happening with the port operators and the vessel operators. If this company is allowed to get away with this, where does it stop? There's a lot of work that could be done by using foreign labour as opposed to local labour, and where does that leave us in the community?
The Port of Newcastle says today's dispute is nothing to do with them, while the contractor involved is yet to comment. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
It once had so much potential. 4 years ago, this site on King Street was set to become an 18-storey apartment block. 80% of the 262 units sold within the first 6 months. But now, citing approval delays and a budget blowout, the developer has pulled the pin and buyers will get their money back.
It's just a reminder that you need to continually work hard to make these things come about. If we get lazy or we don't focus on the job at hand, then these things can fall away and the revitalisation can stall.
It comes amid news the store will be demolished, making way for a bus interchange and other developments that are open to public input. But some want part of the iconic building preserved.
If you go overseas, they're very proud of their facades, as we should be, particularly of the Co-op store.
Revitalising Newcastle says it's not planning on it.
This site has a great history for Newcastle. People are very passionate about it. We're suggesting that retaining the facade doesn't do that adequately, and we want to do some other things through celebrating the history of the site.
Demolition work is expected to start next year. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
With ageing power stations on the way out, Newcastle's mission to seafarers saw the writing on the wall.
We realised that electricity prices were going to increase, so we took the plunge, and it's paid off for us big time.
The non-for-profit organisation serves the needs of weary mariners, and running costs were taking a toll. To stay afloat, 2 years ago it installed 100 solar panels.
During the day, when the sun is shining, our freezers and fridges and everything is run pretty well free.
Next year, the system will have paid for itself, and the charity will put the savings back to where it's needed most.
They'll help to run our transport buses, help to provide more and better food for the seafarers, help to pay for all the things that they need while they're in our centre.
Local businesses are now following suit. A recent Hunter Business Chamber survey found they face the same concerns, with companies staring down the barrel of price hikes of up to 120%.
We've got companies speaking to us about hundreds of kilowatts where they're paying massive bills. But on the other side, we get the smaller companies that are paying a lot more per kilowatt hour that they are purchasing.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
This lab at the University of Newcastle could hold the answer to an age-old dilemma. A social shift over recent decades has seen a rise in the age of first-time mums. Almost 1 in 4 women are now having a child between 35 and 39, compared with just 7% 3 decades ago.
It has all sorts of associated risks, increased risks of miscarriage, increased risks of birth defects and chromosomal disorders, and even before that, there's a delay in conception.
But what if we could stop the biological clock? Bettina Mihalis and her team of researchers have potentially found the key, what's known as the reactive oxygen species. It increases with age and has a major effect on female fertility.
What we've been able to show is that there's an increase in a specific byproduct of this reactive oxygen species, and this byproduct is able to bind and damage the egg and specific proteins in the egg that are responsible for chromosome division and chromosome separation.
The team then applied a model widely used in sperm research with surprising results.
What we've been able to do is use a particular molecule which has antioxidant properties that stops that damage.
This discovery is an exciting first step, providing hope for women who choose to have a family later in life. Bettina and her team now hope to continue that research.
The potential way we'd like to take this forward is to then look at different types of antioxidants that people could take orally, for example, get absorbed by the gut, make its way to the female reproductive system and have a therapeutic effect.
It really just lays the groundwork or as a foundation for more research to come.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
Rory Kostjason describes himself as an average footballer who's had above-average career highlights, among them a premiership with the Cowboys. But sadly for the former Central Coast junior, he didn't quite get what he really wanted.
There's a lot of time throughout my career I tried to get to the Knights, but it just didn't happen. It wasn't the right time, and now I'm finally here. I won't get to pull on the red and blue jersey.
A knock to the throat at training back in January has left the 30-year-old with lifelong damage.
When I went in and seen the specialist and he showed me that my airway was now 30 to 40% smaller than it was, I realised that it's going to be pretty difficult for me to breathe the way I need to breathe to be able to do my job on the field.
He's now seeing a speech pathologist to help him breathe and admits he made the difficult decision to quit the game a few months ago.
We've had tough times over the last 7 months, but like I said, it could be worse.
From a leadership point of view and what he's provided for the younger guys in video sessions and at training, I still consider him a good signing, believe it or not, even though he never got on the field.
Someone who will fulfil a childhood dream. We first met the footy mad kid 13 years ago. The now 21-year-old Rooster has inked a 3-year deal with the Knights.
He's a great competitor, he's a great threat with the ball, and he's a great kid. So, we've got a lot of hope that Connor can help take the club forward over time. I suppose he'll get to live out his childhood dream now.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
He's been involved since the start, but even Olympian Scott Westcott wasn't expecting the Fernley 15 to be so successful.
I didn't have a 6-year plan when we started in 2012. It was just let's put on an event, and now there's so many more events in Newcastle, and the Fernley 15 still holds a special place for many people.
This year, organisers are pushing for more teams to get involved by utilising a relay format. 2015 Women's Champion Angela Leadbeater says it'll be perfect for the large number of kids she coaches.
I don't like my kids running much over 5K, especially on concrete, especially because they've only got little bodies and they're still growing and developing. So the 3K, and there's a few 2K segments which are great for the really young ones.
Leadbeater is expected to face tough opposition from 2016 champion Bridie Delaney, who's making a push for the Commonwealth Games.
I've been training for a half marathon, so I do have a few more Ks in my legs. I never know. I'll race hard. I'm a competitor, so I'll go out there and try and win it, but we'll see.
Westcott isn't sure whether he'll enter, but he is hoping to attract former champions Aaron Royal, Celia Sullivan and Kurt Fernley. Paralympian Christy Dawes has won the event several times and is keen to encourage competitors.
There are other girls who we try and get out here every year, but so far they're not taking the bait, but we're going to keep trying.
Men's champion Vlad Shatrov will go for 3 in a row, 6 weeks after competing in his first 100-kilometre race.
My whole career I've been better at longer stuff, and so it's short and sharp, but you need that to be good at the longer stuff as well. So it's perfect, it's a great event.
Tonight they'll go away and go well. We've got a long way to go before we're at that level, and that's no disrespect to our boys at all. They've came here in the big tournament, handled themselves well and did that today professionally and done everything that's asked them. They just get beaten on the day by a better team.
They were some of the best players I've played against and some of the best players you'll see in our age, so it was very tough for us, but the boys put in a great effort today.
In breaking news, New South Wales Labor MP Sonia Hornery has been charged by the Electoral Commission and could find herself facing a hefty fine. Reporter Tyson Cottrell joins us live from outside the member for Wallsend's electoral office. Tyson, what's she accused of?
Tash, the Labor member is accused of misusing enrolment information. It's understood that the charge relates to August last year when it's alleged Sonia Hornery used the electoral roll to contact a member of the public by mail regarding a government issue. Now, in a statement today, Ms Hornery says she'll be vigorously defending the allegation. The charge carries a maximum penalty of $22,000 in a local court. Ms Hornery will front Sydney's Downing Centre next month. Tash?
Thank you, Tyson Cottrell, reporting there.
setting fire to his boat, then waving a large knife at police. A heartbreaking sight for Adamir Juman's friends, who know him as Eddie.
Seeing Eddie, as he was, distraught on the boat, and then reading the comments, making it a joke, you know, it was just devastating.
The drama began at around 10:30 yesterday morning when police say they approached him due to an outstanding warrant, adding the yacht was not seaworthy.
Upon the occupant being informed of this information, everything went south from there.
Juman, who friends say lives with a mental illness, became the subject of a 16-hour standoff. Then at around 3 o'clock this morning, police say he attempted to move the vessel while allegedly trying to fire flares at officers.
Police discharged several beanbag rounds. Shortly after, he jumped into the water and then swam to the police vessel, where he was taken into custody without further issue.
Juman was taken to Toronto Police Station and charged with several offences. Pamela Power is part of a small group of Warners Bay residents who have been providing financial and emotional support to him over the past few months. She says he's been living on the yacht and had recently lost ownership of his dog.
Having his dog taken from him just pushed him over the edge, and I could see it happening, and I couldn't do anything. I was helpless.
Ms. Power is calling for more help for those with a mental illness.
You know, they're saying it should be an issue and we should be aware, but when it comes down to it, people just don't give it the respect it deserves.
If you or someone you know needs help, you can call Lifeline on 131114. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
It's the agenda that sparked a Port Stephens political stoush.
Last night, Councillor Kafer and I moved a notice of motion to deal with the information papers, mayoral minutes, the notices of motion and the confidential, and to pass the business items to the next council, which is appropriate considering the size of the paper.
When that was voted down, the pair walked out, leaving the meeting without the numbers to proceed. Mayor Bruce McKenzie today accused Councillor Dingle of grandstanding, saying the community shouldn't have to wait another 2 months for decisions. However, Councillor Dingle, who's running for mayor, also has the support from a political rival, particularly on one topic council was down to discuss.
Spot rezonings, if they allow that and it sets a precedence, we're going to have a hell of a time. You have a situation then where people can come in, spot rezone a block of land, say next to a nursing home, and put in an industrial building on it.
The walkout has sparked calls for meetings to be restructured.
What we want to see is the old system that was in before put back again, what they call committee of the whole first. That allows a sort of an informal discussion about everything. Then they sort of put the handbrake on for a fortnight.
A council meeting will be held next week, giving councillors extra time to digest the 900-page document. While it only delayed the process, for some it's still seen as a positive outcome.
It allows my community to talk about some of this stuff in advance of the council meeting.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
18-year-old Brianna Blick is no stranger to Nobby's Beach. She was once a nipper here, brought along most weekends by her father, Wayne. But unfortunately, those days were fleeting.
When my dad did get diagnosed with bowel cancer, I was super young. I was just starting kindergarten, and it was extremely new to my whole family. We didn't really know much about this disease just because there isn't much awareness.
Brianna was 6 when her father passed away, but through her, his legacy lives on. Trying to find a way to raise awareness for bowel cancer, she saw a link online for the Miss Teen Australia pageant. Not only did she enter, she ended up winning.
I was like, that would be perfect. Like, I wanted to raise money for bowel cancer, and this would just give me a bigger voice, not as just Brianna Blick, as Miss Teen Australia International. And then when I did win, it was just amazing that I could take that overseas.
Brianna's been able to raise funds for the fight against the disease. Now she'll champion her cause on the international stage, bound for the world titles in West Virginia with her mum by her side.
She gets a bit teary sometimes, and so do I, so does my whole family.
And there'll be someone else with Brianna as well.
He'll definitely be with me up there on stage when I'm heading over to West Virginia.
Alex Hunke, NBN News.
The Dragons are coming off a massive win over Manly, but the Knights aren't reading too much into that.
I thought they were really good. I thought Manly were really bad. They obviously rested a lot of players.
In round 16, Newcastle produced a Jekyll and Hyde performance against St George Illawarra.
If we play football like we did against them in the first half, last time we played against them, we should be in for a pretty good running, but if we play football the way we did in the second half, we'll probably fall to the same fate as Manly.
Nathan Ross had 3 tries that afternoon to see the Knights lead 28-10 at the break.
I take confidence into every single game, but I'm not going to rest on my laurels from scoring a couple of opportunistic tries. I'm going to be going out there trying to do my best and put a stamp on this game.
Jamie Buhrer missed the clash, but is still fired up about the return game.
I'll fall short of saying revenge, but it'd be good to get, considering how close we were to, putting a score on them last time, to, get them on our home turf now.
Ken Seo returns to first grade in place of Chanel Matautia, who suffered a frightening concussion against the Roosters.
I ended up going back in the locker rooms 10 minutes later and seeing how he was. He was all right, but hopefully he gets well and be back on that field again.
Meanwhile, Trent Hodkinson left today's session early with a leg injury, but club officials say he's in no doubt for Saturday.
Edgeworth is no stranger to the FFA Cup, having made the round of 32 for 3 years running.
We actually are going down there to win this game, and we want to make it to the round of 16.
After a slow start in the Hunters NPL, the Eagles are now soaring, sitting equal top of the table, and they'll need every bit of that form against Victorian powerhouse South Melbourne.
They're doing very well in the VPL at the moment. They're a strong team. They want to push for A-League, so we know that we're not going down there for an easy game. But we back ourselves.
McBreen says coach Damien Zane has the team better prepared than ever before, recently travelling to Melbourne to see them play.
He has. He was down there last weekend before our game, checking them out live to see, because it's obviously different on camera. He's been down there. He's checked out videos as well.
The former A-League Golden Boot is relishing his somewhat unexpected time back in the spotlight.
I was just going to go away quietly and have some fun and play. But look, it's an added bonus. It's sort of get to relive the glory days.
Glory days for NPL rivals too.
It's good for this region as well, for us to do so well, so hopefully we can do it. And as much as it probably normally wouldn't say, we hope Broadmeadow does the same.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Benjamin Gibbs and Tiffany Pandell weren't required here at Newcastle Courthouse today, represented instead by their solicitor in the District Court, where a date for their trial was confirmed. It's been just under 12 months now since 31-year-old Gibbs and 21-year-old Pandell were charged over the alleged assault of 70-year-old Dutchie Holland and his wife Carolyn. They're accused of assaulting the Hollands and robbing them of their mobile phones after being told not to ride their dirt bikes on a Wobber Oval. Both have pleaded not guilty to aggravated robbery and inflicting actual bodily harm, with Gibbs also pleading not guilty to recklessly causing grievous bodily harm. Their district court trial is set down for October 30 and is set to run for 4 to 5 days.
Parts of Newcastle's East End have seen better days, but change is just around the corner, thanks to a huge show of faith from developer Iris Capital.
I think this is a real pivotal point for both Newcastle, but in particular the East End.
The company's CEO, Sam Anu, hit town today as part of a community information session.
The change coming to any community is always a point of contest. There's no doubt about it. And that's what today's about, to make sure that they're well informed, they understand exactly what it is we're doing, and there's no confusion about what the proposal is.
Stage 1 of the project includes transforming the former David Jones building to allow for retail and residential apartments, along with the construction of 3 multi-storey buildings. This is what the old DJ's building looks like now from Hunter Street, and this is how it will appear under the proposed plans. Looking down Perkins Street, the view will be different. This will be the site from Wolfe Street, and the King Street car park will be transformed.
A real revitalisation of what will be a premium retail strip, a real centrepiece for the East End.
All while maintaining existing heritage facades. The information centre will be open tomorrow from 8:30 until 1:30. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
We also don't have the expertise nor the backup funding required to develop such a large project.
The Hunter and Central Coast's beast butchers battling it out to determine who has the best bangers.
A lot of expertise, a lot of professionalism goes into these products.
There were 154 entries across 6 categories, 20 more than last year, from the traditional to gourmet game changers.
There's a particular curry sausage that I think will go extremely well today, and one that's a bit unusual with beetroot in it, with a fantastic flavour.
I had quite a few sausages with chocolate in them and chilli, which is unusual to see in a sausage, but it's quite a nice mixture.
The humble snag has come a long way, and competition was sizzling, making judging the mouth-watering creations no easy task.
The marking is quite intense and the quality is very high. It's going to be very close. It's tight. Everybody's lifted their game.
Among those judges, industry professionals and a familiar voice.
I've been begging for about 3 years, down on my hands and knees, because I love a sausage. And finally, I think someone fell off the tree and they got me into judge.
As for the secret to success...
Nice flavour in there that comes through, and the flavours reflecting what flavours they're saying they're supposed to be there. And the nice texture as well. They're firm so that they hold together in your mouth.
Today's winners will contest September's state finals in Tamworth. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Harbourside in Newcastle, as good a place as any to reflect. Today it was where Stephen Moore revealed this international rugby season will be his last.
You talk to people that have done it and they say you know when it's time, and I think I got that feeling in the last few months. It sort of clears the air a little bit, gets that speculation in the background and lets the team move forward, and the focus should be squarely on the team. I didn't want it to be about me or whether I could get through to this or that, and I felt when I had a good think about it, I didn't think I could.
Since his debut in 2005, Moore has enjoyed an incredible career. 120 tests, the second most for an Aussie, and countless silverware. He even met Nelson Mandela, but counts last year's World Cup, despite the heartbreak, as one of the most rewarding experiences.
That whole journey and the way that the team came together, and I felt like that was a real moment when the team really made the country proud, and to be part of something like that, it means a huge amount.
And he's confident the Wallabies can go one better next year, thanks to the bonds built through camps like this.
Newcastle's been a great place to do it. I've really enjoyed the week here. It's been easy and the people have been great.
Moore will retire from international duties at the end of the year and play one last Super Rugby season with the Reds before hanging up the boots for good.
It's a dream, you know, to be able to get one opportunity. I know everyone says it, but to have you know, this long to play in that jersey has been an incredible ride.
South Melbourne has aspirations of becoming an A-League franchise, but the Eagles looked more professional early on. Kieran Sanders and Daniel McBreen both had great chances. Sanders showed promise with a free kick. Dylan Holtz could only find the side netting as South Melbourne tried to ground the Eagles. McBreen had another opportunity shortly before the break. The home side found its rhythm in the second half. Eagles keeper Nate Cavalieri made several crucial saves before McBreen got back into the action. South Melbourne was struggling to find cracks in Edgeworth's defence until a corner in the 94th minute. The loss leaving the Eagles shattered.
We hung in there for the entire game, but to lose in the last minute was really tough.
Coach Damien Zane says he'll make a handful of changes for Saturday's NPL clash with Western, with Holtz in doubt due to a hamstring injury. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
A good event. I got my best position, which was fourth. Only finished one of the three races though. Ran out of fuel in the first race and flipped in the last one. I didn't expect the gravel trap to flip me over, but the speed I was going at around the corner was like 140. Done 2 test days, one at Sydney and one at Wakefield Park. At the Sydney one, I got the third quickest time ever for a Formula 4 there.